All right, before starting the presentation, just a little disclaimer that the meeting or the webinar or the lunch and learn will be recorded, and you're welcome to turn off your cameras or leave them on. It's up to you. All right, so the webinar for this week, it will be about my experience of achieving my project management professional or PMP certification. So it's going to be like a step-by-step process of how I started until I actually got my certification, and then the lessons learned along the way. So before starting the process of how I got there, a little definition or introduction to the PMP or what it is. So project management professional is a globally recognized certification program offered by PMI or Project Management Institute. The PMP certification is widely recognized in the industry and is considered a benchmark of excellence in project management. And to obtain the PMP certification, the individuals must demonstrate their knowledge and experience in project management by passing an exam. But before doing so, you have to uh, prove that you've followed the process of getting your contract hours and you have enough experience in project management or managing and leading project management. And I'll walk you through the process in a bit. A few things before starting still. There is 49 processes and 10 knowledge areas. So each knowledge area has a certain number of processes that you have to go through. Each process has inputs, outputs, and tools and techniques that you use in order to achieve or in order to complete this process or work on this process. And it also follows a almost similar to the DMAIC that we know, but it's initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. All right. There is a major shift towards agile methodologies. So PMI, they recognize that the growing importance of agile methodologies in project management, and they actually responded by issuing the latest version of PMBOK, the 7th edition, which has a lot of agile material. The reason why, market demand. So as more and more organizations adopt agile methodologies for their projects, there is a growing demand for project managers who are now knowledgeable in agile practices. Flexibility and adaptability. Agile methodologies emphasize flexibility and adaptability in project management, which is important in today's rapidly changing business environment. The other thing is faster time to market, because it helps organizations deliver products and services more quickly, which can be a competitive advantage in some industries. And then the last two, you have collaboration and communication, and then improved quality. So by incorporating agile concepts into the PMP certification exam, the PMI or the Project Management Institute is ensuring that the project managers that are recently certified have the knowledge and skills required to manage agile projects effectively. So let's start with the step by step. So the first thing, you have to meet the eligibility requirements, then apply for the PMP exam, then prepare for it, schedule, and take the exam. And then there's another component after you achieve it and you pass the exam. You have to maintain your certification when successfully passed. So I will walk you through each step and what I mean by especially taking or maintaining that certification. So to become a PMP, you must meet certain eligibility criteria established by PMI. These criteria are as follows. A 4-year degree, so bachelor's degree or the global equivalent or more, at least 3 years of project management experience with 4,500 hours leading and directing projects and 35 hours of project management education. I'll explain this in a bit, the 35 hours, but just, remember this one. Or a secondary degree, so high school diploma, associate's degree, or the global equivalent, with at least 5 years of project managing or project management experience, with 7,500 hours leading and directing project and 35 hours of project management education / training. So both of them require the 35 hours. So what it means, basically, it's the 35 contract hours that you have to get before applying to the PMP exam. You can get it in class or you can get an online one as long as they're certified by PMI. Still more around the first step. So to meet the project management experience requirements, candidates must demonstrate that they have experience leading and directing projects. So this includes tasks such as initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling closing projects, and experience in managing project scope. So have scope, schedule, cost, quality, resources, communication, risk, and procurement. As long as you have experience around this, and as long as you follow this approach in describing your project in your application, you should be good to go. And I'll show you how it looks like in the PMI website in a bit. One more thing that we have to remember: to meet the project management education, as I mentioned before, you have to complete 35 hours of formal project management education, and the provider must be authorized by PMI to give that training, and they will give you a certificate of completing that training that has either 35 hours or 40 hours. And this education or training must cover topics related to project management processes, tools, techniques, and best practices. So they have to walk you through all the knowledge areas, the 49 processes, and the best thing to do is to follow the PMBOK that is provided by PMI. The second step, so applying for the PMP exam. So first, you have to create an account on the PMI website, and then you have to fill out the PMP application. So the PMP application is a very detailed form that requires you to provide, information about your education, project management experience, and the training that you completed, the 35 hours that is required in order to apply. So you have to write the application and then submit it. That's the next step. So once you have completed the PMP application, you can submit it to the PMI for the review. Usually it takes up to 5 days. In my case, I applied Monday afternoon and I got my application approved the following Monday in the morning. So literally 5 business days. After that, you have to pay for the exam fee. It is usually cheaper when you're a PMI member, and if you're a PMI member, it's around the 550, 520 Canadian dollars. And then you schedule the exam. So once you have paid the exam, you can schedule, and it usually, or in most cases, it is administered by a third-party testing organization, and you can do it either in class or online. And I'll explain the difference between the two in a bit. A little note: it is important to note that the PMP application process can be complex and time-consuming. It is recommended that you start the application process well in advance of the date you plan to take the exam. Additionally, it is important to carefully review your application and ensure that all information is accurate and complete before submitting it to the PMI for review. It took me 2 days, literally 2 days, to complete the form with all the projects that I have done and describing it and based on what I studied in the training. And you must follow the project management professional way of doing projects. So you have to start with how you initiated the project, how you executed it, how you monitored and controlled it, how you planned it, and how you closed the project. And it is better to review it before submitting it, just to avoid any delays. Because if they get back to you asking more questions or they're missing information, to resubmit it again, it will take another 5 business days. So it is something that looks like this on the PMI website. So you start with your education. So you fill in your academic education, and then the professional education, which is the 35-hour contract hours. I got mine through Udemy. You can get yours from the same education platform. There is also in-class ones, but they're a bit more pricey. So you fill in the title, the name who provided the institute who provided the training, and then the course start date and end date. After that, you fill in your experience. So you can see here, they're requiring you to fill in your experience and fill the 36 months. So experience, they mean project experience, not work experience. How long you spent on each project, the project title, the organization, the job title at the time you conducted that project, the budget, the approach that you followed, whether it was traditional or waterfall, agile or hybrid, a mix between the traditional and the agile, project dates, the start date and end date, and then the project description. And this is where you spend most time. It is very time consuming, especially if you have a project description before, you have to take it, break it down into the 5 phases, and then paste it again in here before, and then you save it as an experience before submitting. And then the last one, your exam details, your phone number, email number, and then the exam location. So when when your application gets approved and you want to go apply for the exam, they will give you centers based on the country that you selected. So the third step is preparing for the exam. So preparing for the PMP exam is an important step in becoming certified. The PMP exam is a challenging exam that tests your knowledge of project management concepts, tools, and techniques. Some tips, you want to read the PMBOK guide. The recent one is the 7th edition. I actually read both, the 6th edition and then the 7th edition, just to get enough knowledge on the traditional way of doing projects. And then the 7th, I skipped the technology areas that they had, and then I just jumped right ahead to the agile methodology. The reason why in the PMBOK 6th edition they have more detail on waterfall type of projects. Second thing, you want to create a study plan. Then you want to use study material. Here, there are many study materials. You can find them online, and they're available even on applications for your mobile. And they're really useful, especially if they provide practice exams. So you study, you go through the material, and then after that, they test you and quiz you on the processes that they trained you on. And then the final one is take practice exams. Taking the practice exams can help you a lot, identify areas where you need to improve and become familiar with the format of the exam. I personally took I think over 2,000 scenario-based questions, and I also got the PMI practice exam that simulates the actual exam experience. And that helped me a lot to get the real experience. And I found it very difficult and trickier than the actual exam, which is actually a good thing. And the last one there is seek support. So it's okay to get in touch with friends or colleagues that actually have PMP certification. That actually helped me as well in achieving, because I asked some of my colleagues on how the process was, some tips, and things I should prepare for before the exam. The fourth step is scheduling the exam. So once you have completed your exam preparation and feel confident, you can go ahead and schedule the exam. So the first thing you want to do, you have to go back to the PMI website and select the testing center, or you can actually select home-based supervised exam. The best thing I would say is getting tested in a center or a testing center. The reason why, when I was looking on Reddit and other forums on the difference between the two, found out that the supervised or home-based supervised exam, the whoever is watching you writing the exam or answering the questions might suspend it even if you hear the slightest noise. But on the test center, you're actually there. You're being supervised, monitored by cameras as well. So, and also they provide you with a noise cancellation kit that you could put on your ears, so you can be more concentrated. So, if you're prepared, just go for the center-based one. I know the home-based one is more convenient if you don't want to drive, especially if it's winter. But I would suggest to not go with that. The second one is review the exam policies. So after you pay the fee and select the center, they would send you a policy that you must read. So that is important to review the exam policies before you take the exam. The policies cover topics such as exam duration, breaks, and what you can and cannot bring into the testing center. And on the day of the exam, arrive at the testing center at least 30 minutes before your scheduled exam time. Don't forget to bring a valid form of identification, such as driving license or passport. The fifth step, taking the exam. So the PMP exam consists of 180 multiple choice question that you must answer within the 4 hours. The questions are based on the PMBOK guide and cover a range of project management topics, including initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling a closing project. The exam tests your people, process, and business environment domain skills. There is no percentage of success. So some people say it's 75, some people say it's 85, some people say it's 65. It is really, what would I say? It's based on the 3 domains that they test you on, and it's very dynamic. Well, what I mean by dynamic, it tests you on, as I mentioned, the people, process, and business environment domain skills. If you don't pass in one of them, I think you might fail. So you have to pass on target on each domain. And then they are very tricky and scenario-based. So they're time-consuming, so you have to be smart about reading the question. So you have to be so focused. Reading the scenario-based question, sometimes the answers might also be very long. So just focus on what they're asking you on. And watch out for the language they're using, because they might be tricky. An example of scenario-based question. So in this one, you have during the retrospective of your last sprint, the team identified that the user stories were not well defined, leading to scope creep. And this is some terms that you will learn from reading the PMBOK. So the question is, what action should you take to prevent this issue in the next sprint? So the right answer is B, work with the product owner to ensure that user stories are well defined and detailed before sprint planning. These are all words that you're going to learn from going through the PMBOK material, but the answers are very, very almost similar to one and the other. You just have to select the right one or the righter one, because sometimes you might have 2 to 3 right answers, but you have to select the right answer.
So what is the answer there? B?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Sanjeet.
Sorry, it was just by mistake. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, it is answer B, but you could see A, assign more developers to the team to handle increased workload. You can actually do that if you're a project manager, and if you have the resources or the money to do so. Create a separate team to handle user stories development and refinement. You also can do that, but before doing that, you have to get in touch with the product owner. Again, I think it's an agile terminology. It's more like the program manager in a traditional way of doing projects. So you have to get into with the project owner and ensure that user stories, again, it's an agile term, are well defined and detailed before sprint planning. Sprint planning is also an agile word. And then the last one, you don't want to do that. You don't want to ignore the issue as well, as it will likely resolve itself over time. You don't want to do that. You want to get in touch with the product owner, ensure that the user stories are well defined well before the sprint planning. I'll just skip this one. This is just another example. So the final step, so after you achieve hopefully above target in all 3 domains, you get certified. And after that, your responsibility is to maintain this certification. So how? Earning professional development units, or PDUs. So again, I'll just explain it again. To maintain your PMP certification, you will need to earn certain number of PDUs each year for every 3 years. PDUs are earned by, let me zoom in, by participating in professional development activities such as attending project management conferences, completing training courses, and volunteering in the project management community. And again, this one is actually mine. I attended a webinar, and they credited me a 1 PDU, which I went back to the PMI, I claimed it, and then I earned it. And like it goes through the process of claiming it or applying for that, and you say how many number of hours, and then they will validate it and review it and then validate it and then credit you the PDU. So I'm only 59 away.
Well, you could get disaccredited, right? What you're doing today.
You can actually, because it's on the volunteering or helping people to get
it's giving back, right?
Yeah, giving back. The other thing that you could also earn PDUs is if you do project, or if you do a project and you were the manager of that project, they give you a certain amount of PDUs up to a maximum level. Cannot give you all the points because they also want you to do some education and training and attend conferences.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Renew your certification. So your PMP certification is valid for 3 years. And to renew your certification, you will need to submit the renewal application and provide proof of PDUs you have earned during the 3-year certification cycle. As I mentioned before, education component, giving back component, as you said, Edward, and then working as a project management component. And then be aware of being audited. PMI usually randomly select a percentage of PMP certification holders for an audit. So just make sure that If you're trying to, or if you're saying you have certain hours, just make sure that you have proof of that, whether they're, receipts of purchasing certain conferences and attending, pictures, or even calendar invitations. So just make sure that you archive those and you keep them in case you get audited. Okay, some lessons learned. Planning is crucial. Developing a study plan and timeline for preparing the exam is actually crucial for success. The other one is time management is key. So balancing the demand of work, personal life, and studying for the exam requires effective time management. The way I did it, while keeping doing my thing as well. I did it on Udemy, which allowed me to have the application on my phone. So it was also on my phone, even though on the couch and in my bed, I was still studying and going through the material. And that's one of the advantages of doing the online training versus the in-class training. Study material matters, so just make sure that you invest in a high-quality material, or the instructor that you're subscribing for knows his stuff and pretty knowledgeable. Practice makes perfect, so taking practice exam, it is critical component of exam preparation, and that's the one that helped me the most in achieving the PMP certification. And then collaboration is helpful. So if you know someone who has PMP, get in touch with them and ask them what the tips they can provide you. Or if someone is also preparing, it's also good to study together, because you could challenge each other and you could review the scenario-based questions, because sometimes they seem boring. But if you have someone who's who goes through the same thing, you guys can go through that and make it fun. And then the journey does not end with the exam, as I mentioned. You're responsible to maintain that PMP certification by giving back, training, and attending conferences. Some other PMI designations. So you have CAPM or CAPM. This is the entry level. So if you don't have a PMP, you can go for this one. They usually require 1 year project management. In my case, I just went to the PMP. It requires 3 years of experience and extensive amount of knowledge. But I was ready for it, and I went for that. There's other ones such as program or portfolio management professional. These are for senior level, project managers or program or portfolio managers. They usually don't project or manage projects. They manage several project management type of projects, or they manage different units worldwide. So they usually go for the program or portfolio. Other ones could be Agile certified practitioner, risk management professional, and schedule professional. Usually these are sometimes companies would want someone to gain knowledge in certain areas, so they would send them to get trained and certified in that area, especially around risk management and scheduling. So in conclusion, becoming a certified project management professional, PMP requires a commitment to a rigorous process. As I mentioned, again, this includes meeting the eligibility requirements, applying for the exam and preparing for the exam, scheduling and taking the exam, and then receiving the results. And then after that, you must maintain your certification. So obtaining a PMP certification can be a significant milestone in a project manager's career. Again, it provides an increased credibility and opportunities for growth and advancement. So I have a poll for you guys. So I'm going to launch it and just answer the first one, and let me know when you're all done.
Cannot see anything.
Oh, you have to go to the activities at the bottom. in Google Meet, you have to go to where activities are, the icon, and then you'll see polls, and then just click on polls, and you'll see the question.
Activities.
It's on the right side of
Yeah.
chat with everyone. I'm sure you have the same.
Yeah, so you want the polls, right? Okay.
Yeah. All right. And the other one is live. Let me know if you could see it.
Mhm.
That's interesting. Okay. All right. So let me just go back to the presentation. Okay, so that was the first question. Thanks for your answers. And our approach, again, if you answered yes or maybe in achieving or being certified PMP, get in touch to me, and I can help you with, what the process in more detail, and I can give you some books that you can study and prepare for. The other things that Analyze and Improve also can do is help you manage and support projects, and that's that whether you're following the traditional or what we call a waterfall methodology or even agile. So that's it. Thanks for your presence. And
Hey, I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
I have a project management training certificate which I took when I was in the automotive industry 30 years ago.
mhm.
Would that still be valid? Because I went
It
through a full week of training.
Oh, it wouldn't be valid because it's not on the recent PMBOK.
Okay,
You
yeah, because it was a project management training which I took in Michigan, right?
Yeah. Usually they look at the dates on when you completed that training, and if they see it's been 30 years ago, they have probably changed the PMBOK 6 times.
No, I just never took my PMP back then because I didn't